the power.
That's Colin, Crandall, myself, Adam Roorda, with another episode of MMA Power Hour coming right at you. And before we hop into things, I want to go ahead and give a huge shout out to our partner company. And I say my because I'm actually tied in as the lead architect and blockchain architect for Lith Token. Go on over, check out everything that's going on. We're going to be doing the first of its kind with physical NFTs. We're actually associating physical objects with the blockchain, and very soon you'll be hearing about 10 vehicles coming off the line, fresh off the line. The first 10 vehicles coming off the line of a luxury vehicle brand. They will be NFT'd, and you're going to be hearing a lot of news on that. So make sure to hit up lithtoken.io.
Absolutely, gotta love Lith Token. A great organization, great project. If you're in the metaverse or the real world, or if you spend half time in one place, half time in the other, you can take advantage of the great project of Lith Token and the NFTs and all the other great stuff that they have, man. I'm loving it, man.
Yeah, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and that's the beautiful thing with physical NFTs. We really create that half in the universe or metaverse, multiverse, and half out. And a lot of techs that we're partnering up on will be doing that.
Absolutely. Cheers, a toast to Lith Token.
Yeah.
A little bit too much grenadine, the bartender put in, but very
still
good drink.
Still cheers Lith Token.
Yes.
That's perfect. The grenadine.
Absolutely. So Dr. Adam Roorda, man oh man, the card was kind of interesting this past week. It wasn't a big card, not a lot of great fights, but the main event was two of our previous guests going up against each other. The silent assassin Vicente Luque, who was almost a 2-1 favorite, and the remember the name, the man known as Remember the Name, Belal Muhammad. And one more sip. I gotta take one more sip here.
One more sip.
Yeah,
get it out of the way.
Exactly.
Colin wants to be drunk for this show.
Oh yeah, yes, gotta be. No, I'm kidding. But Belal winning the fight as a slight underdog. It's interesting, Adam. One of the interesting things to me in that fight, and you never know if Vicente Luque had some kind of an injury or what happened, but I mean, he knew that Belal had better wrestling than he did, but he had better striking, and Belal was a guy who goes mostly to decisions, and Vicente is a guy who finishes almost everyone he fights, and so people kind of expected that Vicente would either stop all the shots or shoot down all the takedowns and then just pretty much piece up Belal, or at least stop most of the shots, shoot down most of the takedowns and piece up Belal. And what happened was Belal just pretty much took him down at will. And it's interesting because Vicente Luque has faced some wrestlers, and he's known for a good takedown defense. I guess maybe he hasn't faced a whole ton of wrestlers, but it's interesting, Adam, you being a wrestler back in your school days, you could see maybe if Luque was fighting a really decorated wrestler like an Usman or a Colby Covington, guys like that maybe something like this would have happened. But how does it happen with a guy, Belal Muhammad, who I don't know if he even wrestled at college at all. I don't even, if he did, it was a D2, D3 maybe, or the guy was not a decorated wrestler. So I kind of wonder what you think. How did that happen that he kept taking down Vicente Luque at will, so much so that Luque didn't even feel like he could really throw anything because he was so worried about the takedown? I think a lot of people are surprised about that. What do you make of that?
I mean, I was surprised, but at the end of the day, you train well for MMA, and a lot of that is wrestling, right? And you prepare for the right wrestler, and that can be your advantage, being somebody coming in with not that strength to your pedigree. So it's just a surprise tactic, and quite frankly, Luque just wasn't prepared.
It looks like that, and I don't know whether, because if you're injured at all, if there's anything wrong with your wheels, your legs, they call them wheels sometimes, that maybe stopping the takedown could be tough, or if you had any core injuries or anything like that, but and the shots weren't bad from Belal, they weren't. Although he's just not that decorated a wrestler, and Luque, unfortunately, all respect to Vicente, Luque made him look like a D1 national champion. And But nevertheless, Luque had knocked Belal out like 6 years earlier, much earlier in both of their careers, and Belal really wanted this back, and he got it back. And then he's ready. He called out Colby Covington.
And that would be an exciting one. I think it would. He is worthy of that fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's right now. I mean, the top 5. A lot of people have a few guys kind of switched back and forth. I'm going to tell you what I think. The best guy is the champ Kamaru Usman. Number 2, I think, would be Colby Covington. I mean, number 3, I felt Gilbert Burns deserved that decision over Hamzat. But you know what? Let's skip them for now. Let's put in the Brit Edwards, Leon Edwards with 3, and then I guess you have to put Hamzat at 4, and then Gilbert at 5. But you know what? I
didn't move the rankings at all. I think Gilbert stays at 3. And I think that generally speaking, they're probably going to do that.
But now Belal was number 6 going into this, and so does he stay 6 or does he bump one of these other guys out?
No, he earned his spot. I just feel that loss to Gilbert Burns was not really
no, it was a dead even fight, and he could have been given the win.
Exactly, he could have been given the win, and I don't see enough justification
to let him lose that spot. Right?
That I have going across the bottom of the screen. I don't see enough justification to change that.
I agree. Although
I think the matchmakers are going to see it that way at the end of the day with the next fight too.
It's very possible, but nevertheless, regardless of which order people pick, the top 6 are going to be, including the champ, Usman, Covington, Edwards, Muhammad, Burns, and Hamzat Chimaev. And so these are the 6 men that we're looking at and asking who is going to fight who next and who is going to be fighting for the title next. And they're all really tough. It would be really interesting if Belal gets Covington. They're really talking about Hamzat and Covington being more likely than that. But it's going to be interesting to see how the UFC wants to play it, because I believe that Usman and Edwards I believe Usman and Edwards is either already scheduled or they're working on it, having promised Leon finally that title shot and that rematch with Usman, who he fought a pretty close fight with, I think 6 or 7 years ago. And so that would leave the other 4 guys to kind of fight each other. So real quick, because I know we got our guest, well, we're about 5 minutes away. If Usman fights Leon, Adam, and then we have these 4 men left waiting: Colby Covington, Hamzat Chimaev, Belal Muhammad, and Gilbert Burns, who would you like to see fight who of those 4 men? Hamzat Chimaev.
Hamzat and Colby would be really exciting.
Yeah.
I think Belal deserves this fight against Colby, but at the same time, I would rather see him fight Usman. I just think.
Right, but if Usman's out of it, because Usman's going to be with Edwards, it would be Belal Muhammad against
Hamzat?
No, if you're saying Hamzat and Covington, then it would be Belal Muhammad against Gilbert Burns.
Yeah, that would be exciting.
That would be very exciting. So you would say, yeah, and I think I may go with you. Out of those 4 men, if you had to pair them up, you'd go Covington, Chimaev, and Burns, Muhammad. Yeah, I think so. Although any of them fighting any of them would be good. I think that even if they did, I mean, what they probably won't do is they probably won't do Burns Hamzat again. Although it was fight of the night, it was one of the fights of the year, so you could, but they won't. So I think it's going to be either the way you just said it, Chimaev, Covington, Muhammad, Burns, or it's going to be Burns.
It's almost got to be.
Right. Well, it could be. The only other way I think would be if they did Chimaev, Muhammad, and Burns, Covington. That would be the only other way. So
I don't see that one being an exciting one though.
Why? Because because the fact that we think this Colby would kind of do to Belal what Belal did to Luque, maybe, as far as with the wrestling.
100.
Yeah, possible. Although Colby doesn't have the greatest hands, And Bilal does have good hands, but then Colby's hands are actually not that bad. What am I saying? They're actually pretty good. Yeah, I think you might be right. I think
Burns and Covington just doesn't make sense to me.
Not
as one of the next fights. Maybe
right.
If there's something a lead up that has more excitement, but Colby's he puts too many butts in seats.
He does. Oh, and then you're right, because Chimaev also, a lot of people still believe in him. He's still, so you're right, and especially they're both super confident, man. You imagine the trash talk between Chimaev and Covington. Yeah, and then with Burns and Muhammad, these are
none of these fights except for Colby versus Colby versus Burns is all the others are headliners. But that fight is not, and that's what maybe a co-headliner. But that's what I'm saying.
Which one do you think would not be a co-headliner? Colby versus Burns?
Yes,
could be right, because Colby's coming off a loss, as is Burns. Although Colby's loss was pretty darn close, and Burns' loss was even closer. But I think I see your point. I think you're right. I think they don't want to match two guys that just lost. But anyway, it's
not just that. It's just fireworks on one side, and that's how I feel about it. I mean. I love Burns. I think he's a very technical fighter, one of the most technical fighters, very, very skilled, and he's explosive at times, but he's not the same type of exciting as Colby when Colby's on.
Could be. I mean, it could be, although, here's what I think. I'll agree with you in the previous statement that Covington Muhammad may be just Colby dominating with the wrestling. But I don't know that same thing would happen with Colby and Burns. Burns is actually a really good wrestler. He's a good wrestler, but he's a great jiu-jitsu guy off his back. So I think that he would be more dangerous to Covington
I
than
get
Muhammad.
that. I get that. But I'm also talking personalities. I'm also talking actual fighting.
You're right. You're right.
The style of fighting is also going to be a lot different. The other ones are going to put people in seats because they're more exciting.
Yep, that's true.
And you're going to see more bloodlust coming from the fans.
Right, and the build up with Covington and Chimaev would be great.
Exactly. So you've got to look at these things when you're talking about these fantasy matchups.
Yeah, that's true. To see what the public might want more, and what would put butts in seats, and what would be a more dynamic fight. Agreed. Very good point, Dr.
I'm not sure Colby and his team would even want to take a fight with Burns just because of the excitement not necessarily being the same as it would with any of the other fighters. So
perhaps
the chances are going to be lower.
Yeah, it's probably right. Although I think they're all exciting fights, but
exciting, yes, but
not as anticipated or not as much hype. I agree. Do we have any legitimate questions? I can't see much up there.
Not a question, but we've got a statement. Gibbs67 says, "I sure hope UFC books Jones Stipe."
Yeah, we can only talk on that for 1 minute because we got to grab our first guest. But a lot of people are talking about that. John Jones, with all the charges and stuff and crimes he's been involved with, mostly misdemeanors, maybe exclusively. But I don't know what they're going to do with him. He wants a lot of money, but he gets in trouble every year. And then Stipe is almost 40, and so I don't know if he's quite what he once was. It would be a fun fight. We've waited, I think, 3 years now for a John Jones fight, and it's supposed to be a heavyweight fight, and we haven't seen heavyweight fight one out of John Jones yet. So I do think that our guest here has a good point. I would like to see that, and I hope to see it soon. Anyway.
Tan first, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Go ahead and
do it.
Get that Skype dance
Skype dance.
Well, where is the Skype dance? He's not online right now.
He's not online right now, so that's not good. So let me send him a reminder. I reminded him yesterday. We had the PR remind him today, and so
he's just not online.
Hey, brother, we're ready for you on Skype. We just tried to call you and didn't get anything. So if you could jump on, that'd be awesome. Period.
I'll send let's see if it sends him something.
Okay.
I'm going to wave at him.
That sounds good. Send a wave.
I'll send a wave.
Yeah.
How about we send a wave?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you know, one thing I think you guys that know me watching see that I'm always like not happy if someone doesn't show up, and it's true. And I think if you guys were in my position, you'd feel the same because we.
Oh, it's irritating, man.
Yeah.
It's notoriously this way.
It is
space, and it's so irritating. And every journalist that wants to speak on it.
Right. No one likes it because you're doing a show.
They usually won't.
Right.
Because they're afraid they're not going to get them as a guest. But let's be real.
Yeah. It's
always irritating if you cannot keep a planned commitment.
Right.
Yeah. But then why are you doing it?
Right. It's not cool. Now, the one thing I will say is this. I do realize there's nothing personal. I don't have, nor does Dr. Adam Roorda here, have any bad blood with any fighter, major or minor. And so there is no bad blood, and I'm never going to, say anything horrible and call anyone any names or anything like that, for not showing up. But, you guys just got to understand, we don't just get a loose yes or maybe. When we schedule someone to be on the show, we get a definitive yes. They know we're a live show. We coordinate everything via Skype so that we have each other's user ID. We add each other as contacts, and we have a definitive commitment to be on the show. And so it's just, frustrating. Now, once in a while, someone can come a little bit late,
and that's probably what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I have a feeling possibly, but it's, so no disrespect to the fighters. So many fighters are just absolutely awesome people, and missing commitment doesn't make them the worst person in the world, but it is frustrating.
It's just irritating.
Yeah,
it's just irritating.
That's what it is.
Whether they're trying to or not,
Yeah,
we forgive most situations. That are legitimate, but
exactly. But anyway, let's take a look.
Let's talk about this, man.
PFL, Jeremy Stephens jumping over. I think, did he have one fight already there or no? This is going to be the debut. I think this is a PFL debut.
Sure, it's his PFL debut.
He's going up against Clay Collard, and he is there. It's kind of a pick'em fight. Actually, Jeremy, a slight favorite. Is that the minus next to Jeremy's name there, Doc?
Yeah, he's a slight favorite, depending on who you're going with. He's more. It's not so much a pick'em outside of DraftKings. DraftKings has it as a pick'em.
Right, but the other ones, well, yeah. So he's like 1.5 to 1. He's like minus 140, minus 130 on some sites. So they have him just slightly favored over Clay Collard in the main event, and it's going to be interesting to see. Jeremy's a tough guy. He's in his mid-30s, so I think he genuinely feels that there's no reason why he has to be done yet. Now, one thing we all know, that the older you get, the harder it is to maintain your skills.
Harder it is to maintain that chin.
Right, dependent though somewhat on the weight division in which you fight. You have a longer shelf life. The heavier weight that you fight, because it's not so much based on speed and reflexes, and those are the things that start to go a little bit as Father Time catches up with you. So while it's not unusual to see a 38 or 39-year-old at heavyweight or light heavyweight, even middleweight in MMA, it is kind of likely to see someone that age in a lighter weight. Now, he isn't 38 or 39, but at 35, were he heavier, he could be kind of just barely out of his prime. But now fighting at lightweight, your prime is probably only up until about 31 or 32. So he is a few years out of his prime. He's a tough guy, though. He's had some very, very... Wow, look at those guys he lost to. You know what's funny, Adam? These 3 guys that he lost to, is that scrolled all the way up? Was that his most recent loss to Gamrot? Yeah. These 3 guys that he lost to, when he lost to them, they weren't quite what they are now. Now you look at them and you say, hey, I lost to Yair Rodriguez. Yair Rodriguez is an absolute killer. You say, I lost to Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar is an absolute killer. And then you say, I lost to Mateus Gamrot. Gamrot maybe not quite as established as Kattar and Rodriguez, but pretty much on his way to being an absolute killer. So looking at this now, and then before that, look, Zabit Megamed Sharapov, an absolute murderer. Jose Aldo Jr., an absolute killer. So in reality, they kind of threw Jeremy to the dogs there in the last few years of his career, didn't they?
I mean, he's always been thrown at the
Always.
dogs.
They've never give Jeremy an easy spot, and so
I wouldn't say that. Look at this one.
well, there's a couple.
Just
Yes,
because I know him.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not going to say his name, but
right. No, yeah. So they once in a blue moon have, but hardly ever. So in reality, the fact that Jeremy's on a little bit of a losing streak, but it's all been to complete killers that are killing it in the UFC. Maybe he's got something left. I mean, in all honesty, that makes me think that maybe Jeremy's a good bet here, because in reality, what are the chances that Clay Collard would beat any of these guys that just beat Jeremy? Not a lot. He's coming off a loss to Manfio, who is a good fighter, and then before that, he had beaten guys pretty much that no one's heard of.
Except for Anthony Pettis.
Except for Anthony Pettis, who everyone's heard of, and that was a good win, but that is not a prime Anthony Pettis either. So you know what? This is a big fight for Clay Collard. Jeremy Stephens would be a big win to have on his record, along with and the Anthony Pettis win. It would really kind of get his momentum going. But Jeremy has to win this. If Jeremy loses this fight, his first PFL fight, then it's not going to be the start he wanted, and there's going to be talk that you can't win over in PFL, Jeremy. Maybe it's time to retire in Iowa and start a gym over there, and make a deal with the glass companies in Pella, Iowa, to sponsor your gym. Would that work, Adam? Kind of.
Pella Windows probably wouldn't do it.
No,
they have a big enough presence.
Oh well.
they might have an advertisement during a UFC fight or
there
a
you
PFL
go.
fight.
Right,
They're going to take the whole thing, not just a singular fighter.
Okay, well, so you never know. But the bottom line is, Jeremy's in a must-win situation.
A little bigger than that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's a little town in Pella, or in Iowa, but it is it's basically the whole town is this company.
Yep, so, the glass company.
It's not a glass company. It's a doors and window company.
There we go. The doors and windows. Then every high school kid at one point worked there in the summer probably.
Pretty much. Yep. It was either that or detasseling corn.
Oh, man. That detasseling corn, I always hated that. What is detasseling corn?
you're asking what that is, and you're saying you always hate it. Everybody hates it because you're literally taking the tassel off the top and taking it, and then it's utilized for you've got to take the tassel, stick it down in the stalks, and it's used to help with creating more.
I got you. Could you do me a favor, Adam? I believe you do have that email on your computer now, where you
No, I don't.
The one where you wrote to.
It was never on my computer.
Didn't you have it somewhere?
Wait, maybe I did. I did pull that up.
You did, because you wrote to Sammy. You wrote to Sammy over there. Could you let him know that Tan is not showing up here, because Tan didn't.
I mean, I can't log out. I can't log out of this account. I've got stuff going on that I can't log out.
I see. I see your point. Okay. I just, I you know what? I think I'm going to call him. I think I'm going to call direct. Not.
Yeah. Just see if he's. Probably just not getting the message.
Yeah, that could be it. Let me call the fighter here.
He's gonna call.
There we go.
Doing what we can to get him in here.
Yep.
Colin.
So yeah,
the entertainment here.
Oh yeah.
You guys are awesome for hanging in there with us. Make sure to hit up all of our social media. It's just at MMA Power Hour. Our website right now is down. It's going to be a while before we bring that up, but definitely interact on our social media. And if you're watching on outside of the Hannibal TV, either go to Facebook or YouTube, the Hannibal TV. Make sure to give a like, a share, subscribe, comment. We love the love, so does the Hannibal.
Hey, what's happening, Ton? It's Colin here at MMA Power Hour. We're live, and we had it set up for the interview at 6:10. It's 6:21 now. Hoping you can jump on quick, brother. We're really looking forward to talking to you. And if you can, please jump on. We've been trying to Skype you for about 11 minutes. Appreciate it a lot, bro. Thanks. Bye. So there we go. That was the first call. But, yeah, sorry to talk over you, Adam. You're doing a good job carrying it while I'm on the phone here. But, what's interesting is that last week wasn't a no-show where it looked like it was. What happened was minutes before we went on the air, and minutes before we go on the air, we're not looking at emails. We're preparing for a good 15 minutes before we go on the show to do the show. So minutes before we went on the show, the representative of our guest Mr. Lee, said, well, how can he go on an hour later? We didn't see that, and the answer would have been no, of course. Anyway, we're a live show. We have guests scheduled at all these 3 segments, and so we didn't see that. So it wasn't a no-show, but they just let us know minutes before the show that he's going to have to go on an hour later. And so we got a lot of apologies, sincere, from the fighter, Mr. Lee, and from his representative, and an absolute assurance and guarantee that he was going to be on the show starting 6:10 p.m. Pacific time today, and now he is 12.
I just say keep calm, carry on.
12 minutes late. Keep calling, or you're saying
keep calm, carry on?
Yeah,
talking
absolutely.
about my T-shirt here, Colin.
Oh, that's right, your shirt. Yeah, keep calm, carry on. Exactly. But anyway, so this would be a rarity, Adam. I think there's maybe only one other fighter that did this to us, maybe 2 in 5 years, where they didn't make it and were a no-show on one show.
I mean, who cares? We got other stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we do. We do indeed. Okay, so
things.
Jeremy, can he do it? I think he can. I think this may be a solid bet, because I think Jeremy's going to be
what happens
up
when
for
he
blood.
does?
Well, when Jeremy does win, then it's on to the next. I think that.
Oh, not just for him though. I'm asking Dana, how is he going to respond to that?
Well, Dana's probably not going to care, because he's probably going to say, "Oh, that's one win. See how many wins he can get over there." And but Dana will definitely. I don't know if he'll laugh, but if Jeremy, I see your point. No, now I see which way we're going with it. The more fights that Jeremy wins in the PFL, the more Dana is going to be able to say, "Hey, this guy lost 3 fights in a row and 5 fights out of 7 here, and now he's beating your guys in the PFL. What does that say about your talent?" So he'll be able to probably give the big thumbs down if that happens.
Exactly. That'll get to be real interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see, But Jeremy's a good Iowa dude, so I hope he does come in there and win. And I think he can. I think he can beat Clay Collard. And,
okay, so what about on the 22nd at Bellator 278? What are your thoughts on Liz Carmouche and the Juliana Velasquez fight?
Wow, that is a fight with 2 very rugged girls. I imagine the champ Velasquez is a slight favorite. It looks like it, right? Minus 200. Yeah, about 2 to 1. Yeah, she's tough. Juliana Velasquez came in and beat Elimele McFarland, who had held that belt for like 3 years and made like 5 or 6 defenses. And Juliana Velasquez came in as a favorite and looked like it. And she beat McFarland, who I believe was undefeated and had been a dominant champion. Now she is undefeated. And how long ago was that McFarland fight? 2 years? No, it was about a year and almost a year and a half ago. So then after that, she did beat Denise Kiel. Now look at that. Denise Kielholtz is a really good striker from Holland. That was a very competitive fight. I think I felt that Kielholtz could have maybe should have been awarded that decision. I don't know why I'm forgetting something from just 10 months ago, but really good fight though, and Kielholtz is awesome. I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch of that, but Velasquez is very tough. What is she, like 27 years old? She's young, 28?
Let me go back.
All right.
35.
35, so she's older than I thought. Now Carmouche is even older than that. Carmouche is 38, and what's she done recently? So recently she's on a good streak. She did lose the title fight to Shevchenko and then jumped out of the UFC, and she is 3-0 in Bellator.
Tan's in now. He's hopping in.
Okay.
So, and he's like, I'm terrible, I know. Is it too late now? No, it's not. We'll just call him.
Let's call him, yeah. Hey, Tan, can you hear me? Tan, can you hear me?
Am I on? Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you. Can you hear me? Beautiful. We got you there. All you got to do is see yourself. You can see yourself in the square. We're good. And then we're going to have everything looking great here with the graphics. You just won't be able to see us. As long as you can hear me, we're rocking, though. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine, and I want to apologize because I'm a terrible person and I got caught up training.
Thank you for saying that. You're not a terrible person, though. I got to tell you, everyone knows you're a good guy, and the training, you got to do it sometimes. And hey, you're here. We appreciate you, and appreciate your sincerity on that, man. And that means everything. And like accountability, I think you're a guy who is a millennial, but you have that old school, responsibility. I've only heard good things from you, Tan. So no hard feelings. We're super glad to have you. Let me give you a good intro since you are live, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to have this guest on the show. Actually, for the second time, we did a great interview with him about a year ago. The one championship featherweight champion, Mr. Tan Lee. Welcome to the show off of the great win off of Gary Tonin. Now, let me clarify one thing, Tan, really quick about the weight divisions. I know we have the hydration thing in one championship that I really like, and so I think what confuses a lot of people is that in one championship you actually have a men's strawweight division, and they're allowed to rehydrate to 125, which would be a flyweight in the other major organizations. And so I think every weight class is then going to be one weight lower. So with you being the featherweight champion, that would mean you'd be 145 maximum on fight day everywhere else, but at you're 155 maximum on fight day, right?
Correct. So that's actually our weigh-in weights. We have to weigh in hydrated. So they test your urine with a electronic tester or whatever. They do them during live weigh-ins. As you step on the scale, you need to be 155 pounds. And then for fight day, they weigh you post-fight. And they just want to make sure that everybody's fighting at their actual weight, not trying to get around the system. So during post-fight weigh-ins, you need to be within 5% of your weight range. So just to give it like a very rough estimate, I weigh in at 155 the day before the fight. I fight, I weigh in after the fight, and I need to be under 163-ish.
Okay, that's interesting. That makes sense because otherwise, then someone's doing something that's not normal, or the hydration level is not what it's supposed to be, and so it looks like they're really looking out for fighter health there. Is that whole thing all good, or are there pluses and minuses of that system, in your opinion?
Honestly, I think because I'm a true featherweight, I think it's all good. I've really had no downside. Now, that recently changed for, let's say, the fight for Martin. When I beat him, we had to weigh in on a Wednesday. We had to weigh in on Thursday, and then fight day was Friday. As long as you passed the first two hydrations and weigh-ins, you could be weigh whatever on Friday, fight day.
Interesting.
Now,
okay.
Yeah, exactly. And now, during this fight against Gary, it was, you don't weigh in Wednesday at all. You weigh in once, Thursday, the day before the fight. And then Friday, they get a post-fight weight. And like I said, it just got to fall under those categories.
Interesting. Okay. So basically, I like that. It looks like there's some variables as far as exactly when the weigh-ins are, but it seems like the concept is a good concept, in that the bottom line is, even though in the other three major organizations you would be fighting at lightweight, you would be fighting in the other organizations, you would probably be fighting at their featherweight, and then you'd be dehydrating like crazy to come in at 145 because you walk around at 160, and you'd be fighting at a dehydrated 145. You'd be fighting skinny, like I've heard some fighters say, right? And here you're not. And so that is, I think that is a really good concept. My producer, senior producer here, wrestled in school, and I think he likes that. You like that idea, Adam? Yeah, he I think as a wrestler, he could go either way on that, because the wrestlers got so good at cutting weight. But I think it's healthier because you've got the hydration that you need, and I think it's safer. And but do you ever wish you could do it the other way, or are there any fighters there at one that wish all of a sudden they would switch to the same rules as Bellator, UFC, and PFL?
I'm not really sure. I mean, I think the more we do it and the more we find, because look, humans are very talented people, and we will find a way to cheat anything. I promise you that. But in concept, we can both cut down to 145. But if you're a true featherweight that can make featherweight, and I'm a true featherweight that can make featherweight, why dehydrate ourselves? Let's just fight at 10 pounds heavier. Like, that is kind of the general concept, and I agree with it. the issue is that no matter what we do, there's always people who are trying to cut corners and cheat the system and get an advantage. Obviously, there's steroid users, and maybe they're doing things with the weight cut that I'm not aware of or whatever. But honestly, I like the general idea, and the more they do it, the more experience they have with monitoring and managing fighters, I think the more like to the T and more precise it can be, and it'll be a true, accurate, description of we're two dudes of the same size and stature. We belong fighting each other generally, so let's do it. And
Absolutely.
I didn't mind cutting to featherweight down to 145, being dehydrated, and then hydrating and eating and stepping in the cage at 165 almost. I weighed more. When I weighed in at 145, I weighed more in the cage than I do when I'm not dehydrating myself and weighing in at 55.
Good point. That was a good point. Do you know, because of this, I think sometimes you'll see yourself on various websites keeping records and that mention you as the lightweight champion. And that's not the case. It's just that because of the rules, the weight you're fighting at on the day of would make you have to be a lightweight with the other three organizations, but indeed you are the featherweight champion at one championship.
Correct.
Okay, very cool. Has that come up when you were interviewed anywhere where someone incorrectly identified you as the lightweight champion? I imagine yes.
Yeah, it's all the time, to be honest with you. But I'm happy to be able to expose people that aren't familiar with the way we do things over there and the way one is marketed over in Asia. Like I'll be happy to answer a million questions so that fans over here can get a little bit of exposure to what we're doing over there and how the weight situation is over there and what it equates to the promotions over here that they're used to seeing.
Very cool. All right, now you are a Louisiana boy, Native American, and you're fighting in the biggest organization possibly in the world, but definitely the biggest organization outside of the USA. You are an Asian American. Do you find that that you get more or less support than the actual people fighting from Asia, or do you find that you get more or less camaraderie with the actual Asian fighters that are not American being Asian American?
I tell you what, I don't think it's as simple as maybe breaking it up into those categories, but I tell you what, I feel from social media interactions, being out in Asia, obviously living over here in the States, that it's really cool because I get a weird mix of general support, because I'm half middle of nowhere Kentucky American, I'm half Vietnamese, so I've got both communities that really like to back their guys, right? And then I also have a weird mix of like UFC, Bellator versus one championship. They do things differently over there, so it's a weird collection of fans that I have. But I feel like I'm still getting used to the fact that I even have fans. But it's cool that all of these kind of general fans hover into this central zone where I get a huge population of the Asian community from Japan, man. I get messages from the Chinese fans, Indonesian fans, all the places I fought, Thailand, all these guys reaching out. And then obviously the support from back home, whether it's because I've met you in the gym and trained with you, or because you're reaching out on social media and we have something in common as far as like some of the videos we do and shit like that, and it's it's really cool. It's different energy. I'll tell you what, from fan base to fan base. I feel like the Asian community tries to be, I guess, upfront a little bit more. I don't want to use the word respectful, but a little bit humbled as far as the words that they spit out on social media. And the American fans, man, it's a lot of the entertainment where they're just talking shit one way or the other to the other guy that I'm fighting or to me because they think I'm dancing around or running around or on steroids or whatever the case may be. It's pretty cool to get all aspects of fan base, and it's cool to be in the middle. Yeah. And I'm really enjoying that right now.
Good. That's well stated, and it really gives us a good idea of what you're looking at, and I appreciate that detailed answer. Let's talk about your last title defense against Gary Tonin. So I believe he was a slight favorite, I think, in the betting, and I think a lot of people were feeling that this was his fight, that he had been undefeated, he had looked good. Obviously, he's a world-class jiu-jitsu guy, and he had started to show he had always had a little bit of wrestling. Those of us that remember watching Gary Tonin in his BJJ contest, he had better wrestling than a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, right? So he had some wrestling, he got his hands going, and a lot of people thought he was going to catch. Now, the interesting thing I know they pointed out is you've trained for years with your friend Ryan Hall, the leg lock specialist from the UFC. And I remember when I was watching, they announced that. I said, shit. I said, wait a second now. I said, puts a different spin on this. Because before that, you were kind of thinking, if it's a scramble and Tonin catches your legs, you're done. And all of a sudden, you're training with one of the best leg lock guys out there. I'm like, wait a second here. And it looked like that. It looked like you were not afraid of the leg lock. It looked like you were really aware of what he was trying to do and just not let him, get the position. I forget, I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, so I'm not really an expert in leg locks, and I know some of the terminology for some reason right now I'm forgetting. I was going to throw it out there too, but you were not letting him get past the knee and put you in danger, and he looked like he was desperate to do it, like right away. And it's funny because I think a lot of people thought he was going to hang with you and strike with you a little bit. So long question all put together here, but A, tell me, were you surprised at how quickly he kind of went to try to get the leg locks? And B, were you really confident that he wasn't going to catch you? And other than hitting him in the face, what are some of the things you did that stopped him from being able to get the right position and even really threaten you at all?
Yeah, so it wasn't it wasn't a huge surprise that he was going to try to connect early and soon, because of the way that I strike. Just it really draws out bad tells and tendencies from the other guy. It's I know the whole 100% finishing rate thing is always in people's heads too. I don't go out there and try to knock people out in the first round and hunt you down, but you give me the opportunity and I'll definitely sleep you. So it is a danger factor, like, oh, don't let this man touch you on the feet one time, because if he gets a good shot, he could end the fight, which is an actual fact. I've done it a lot. Yeah. So it does cause a little bit sense of urgency for the other guy to not hang out in that zone. And I think that's what caused the game plan to be centered around the way it looked. I honestly think the first 30 seconds of the fight went exactly how Gary, John, and all those guys drew it up. It's just, I don't think they expected my grappling to be so good. And then really, you didn't, if you don't know what you're looking at, and you've never been under an elite grappler, trying to entangle your legs and trying to uproot you from the ground and mess with your base, then it's going to be really hard to kind of understand what I'm about to say. But it's really grappling, striking. Martial arts starts with having great base, being able to move your feet. And, when I say feet, I mean whether your knees on the ground or your foot and your hands, we're using footwork. We're using movement to stay based and balanced and centered, and not allowing his off balances to affect you as much. He had some great off balances. The issue usually isn't the bad guy does one thing and then catches you. It's he does one thing, makes you correct, does another thing, makes you overcorrect. Now those overcorrections are heading you in a downward spiral into a great finish, right? Mm-hmm. And I think I wasn't allowing him to do that because of the years, like you mentioned, training with Ryan Hall and his team. I'm actually here and 50-50 right now. That's why I was a terrible person and missed your call initially.
That's all right.
And training with him and his guys, and it's all about good jiu-jitsu in general. Obviously we focused on some footlock details, but really what got me through that was years and years of training with Ryan and his team and my teams back home at Mid-City MMA and Moon College with my coaches, Sean Gayton, Vin Lee, Ryan Hall, obviously his black belts, Adam Benny. So training with those guys and being able to stay composed. I've been in that fire, in that position against guys that have been more threatening to me thousands and thousands of times. And then when at initial connect and I started throwing punches, he wasn't overly concerned with my punches, and he was hanging onto the leg and he was getting a little desperate, like you mentioned. like really, really trying to keep me on the ground because he knows the game plan was once you get this guy on the ground, that is the time to capitalize. Because on the feet, he's a lot better than you are, a lot more experience than you are there, and that's a big danger.
Absolutely.
I think running into those issues and him feeling how based and balanced and how calm I was put him in the position to be a little desperate, go for the footlock, kind of disregard my punches, and then we know how that ended.
Absolutely, a great win for you. We've only got about 3 minutes left, Ton. We obviously, as you know, you got caught up because we would have had more time, and you know that we don't have it now. Apologies to you, but as long as you understand, we had more set, and I'm still grateful to have you here. If you want, down the line, we can come back and bring you back for more because we'd love to talk to you more. But in the last 2 minutes, we have you. That was a great win. One thing I think you showed there, that if you're knowledgeable about the leg locks and you're not afraid of them, then instead of just trying to yank your leg out and run away, keeping your leg in the correct position and then throwing the hands is something I think that a lot of lock guys don't expect. Because in MMA, no one wants to have their leg wrecked. A lot of people may or may not know that I think you can break 3 bones with a heel hook. That would be your ankle, your shin, and your kneecap can all be popped. And a lot of guys, that's the last thing they want. So I think the leg lock, heel hook especially, but leg locks put a lot of fear into MMA fighters. And I think the fact that you didn't have that fear really put you in a good position. You look tremendous there. I know they're talking about the next title fight. There was one guy who had a lot of wins and another guy who beat him. Anything set yet that you can release about a date or your next fight?
Nothing said. I know there's a lot of buzz around Thanh, our #1 contender. So who knows? Maybe we'll match up against him. We'll see. I'm trying to get a relatively quick turnaround. He had a pretty quick fight, no damage to him. So I'd love to see him in a little while. And then we've always got the cross-promotion stuff. The Pitbull and AJ fight was interesting.
Yes.
We can do it without the UFC. Get Bellator in there. Get PFL in there. Pitbull is a great champion. I'd love to step in there with him and put these hands on him. AJ did a great job, and that's an arguable decision. But whoever's the champ, let's do this cross-promotion shit. Let's get it on.
I'd love to see it, Max. I'd love to see you in the mix. In the last 30 seconds, I know it's considered a weight division above you, although it's the same weight technically. Who wins in the UFC, Justin Gaethje or the champ? I can't believe I'm blanking on the champ. Remind me who it is. Sorry?
You Gaethje or Oliveira?
Yes, or Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Give me 30 seconds on how that fight goes down.
Man, that's a hard one. I've got some ties to both of those guys, and I really like both guys as fighters. Like, really, really do. If I don't want to pick, but if I had to, I guess I'm gonna pick Oliveira based on some of the jiu-jitsu that he's shown. He's got some great finishing skills. I hate picking a person into this matchup. I love them both, but I'll go Oliveira.
Awesome. Well, the next time you have a fight announced, a title defense, we'd love to get you back before then. We could have a good, solid talk, and we can help promote that fight.
Perfect. Thank you, and I apologize again.
Absolutely. Apology accepted. You're very welcome. Great talking to you. Thanh Le, thank you so much for your time, brother.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that was Thanh Le, the one championship featherweight champion. Really good dude. We can talk to him more when he has his next title defense scheduled. Dr. Adam Roorda, we are right on time.
Absolutely. All right. So we're just going straight into the next one, it sounds like.
Yep.
Everybody hit up at MMA Power Hour. Check it out. And I do not have chat. No, we have somebody in here, Michael Harrison, dropping in and saying hi. Everybody make sure to head on over to lithtoken.io when you get a chance. It is a new cryptocurrency that I'm actually working on and building out, and we will have physical NFTs with a true physical NFT. So we're creating physical objects on the blockchain. Sounds crazy. Look into it. You'll figure it out.
They are nifty, as NFT put together sounds like. Nifty.
Everybody wants to get into the NFT space.
Yeah, they do.
All right, so unfortunately has not accepted my invitation yet.
Maybe we can try anyway.
Yeah, I can try. Let's see what happens.
It would say a silent prayer. Then we get the next guest right here.
Nope.
Okay, so
I'm not online, and I have the right one.
So this guest was provided by a management organization that will basically say, I spoke with the fighter, what time and date, we tell them, they say the fighter says yes, they will be glad to do it. They say we're on, I say okay, the day of the show, I say please remind them, and they basically say we will, but if our fighter doesn't show up, fuck it. Right. And so there's really nowhere we can go with this. It's just very disappointing. And at some point, I think, you know, I've heard other popular shows and podcasts say, you know what, fuck you, fuck them. Because it happens enough, and they're basically saying, hey, we're not going to baby him or her and call them up and say, hey, you have an obligation that we committed. They're basically like, if he or she doesn't want to show up, then they're not on your show, deal with it. And that's fucked, and I'm getting kind of tired of that. Because in all honesty, you know, we've had a lot of great guests. We've been on for 5 years. We're credentialed with all 4 major, you know, MMA organizations, UFC, Bellator, PFL, and 1 championship. And I'm not saying that anywhere near the millions of people that know Joe Rogan know us, or even near the couple million people that know Ariel Helwani know us, or Brendan Schaub, or whoever. But for everyone else, we do have a pretty good audience. And it's just, you know, I'm tired of the fact that that other organizations and management companies will say, if my fighter doesn't show up, let me know. I will make sure he or her shows up. Even if I have to drop everything I'm doing, even if it's 10 o'clock at night in the East Coast, like it is almost now. But this organization doesn't. They pretty much say, if he or she doesn't show up for your show, then deal with it and go fuck yourself. So we can try maybe 1 or 2 more times, but there's nowhere to go. If he doesn't pick up his Skype, then we know what their message is, don't we, Adam?
Mm-hmm.
So that will be crappy, because I was really looking forward to this. I know
I was really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, and you know what I can do, man? I can text a manager who doesn't like to be texted, and just let them know, FYI, and if that person wants to write back and say, you know what to do, just go fuck yourself, then they can write me back and say that. But I'm just letting them know that, you know.
Well, maybe it's another scenario with
What? With what?
With practice going later.
We'll see. Hey, just wanted to let you know that Rashad is a no-show so far. He's about 7 minutes late and is not responding on Skype, and it looks like he's not even on Skype, according to our producer running the boards tonight, period. We'll try him a couple more times, but we'd really love to have him on. We really advertised the hell out of the episode, period. Right? See this?
Nice.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I'll tell you this: the difference between our last guy coming on late, and you can see he really apologized several times, and he even said he's a terrible person, which he's not. Our last guest, Tom Lee. You know, and so you can tell he really felt bad, and I think he was only like 10 minutes late. Or 12 minutes. And so I think, in all honesty, he obviously probably timed it, and for whatever reason, you know, he's a professional fighter, he's training there with pros. For whatever the reason, someone probably said, dude, I gotta roll with you here, I just gotta work out some kinks before my fight, right? And someone probably grabbed him, and the roll went 12 minutes longer, or the sparring, whatever. So you can see that. And then as soon as he was able to look at his phone and see the time, he was like, fuck. And so, to all respect to Tom Lee, would have loved to have had him for the whole segment, but we'll get him back again, and he's a gentleman. But in this situation, I'm not going to say anything about this fighter. The funny thing is, once in a while, I wonder with the organization that manages our next guest here, if they even tell the person that this is a live show. If you don't show up, you can't they're not going to do an interview with you tomorrow morning. They're not going to do an interview with you at 11:30 at night. if you don't show up at the call time, you're screwing them on a live show. I don't know that the management company is even telling the fighter that. So in the fighter's defense, they may just say, hey, here's a show. Will you do it at this time? Yeah, you will. Great. Have fun. And, you know, I would wish that there would be some more accountability where they would let them know that, you know, and not only that, but it's like, I mean, we obviously don't have a right to act like we're all like big shit like Joe Rogan is, obviously. But I know that we've done literally over 1,000 hours of podcasts, and we've been at some of the biggest UFC and MMA events, and Bellator invited to one championship, but all the events are out of the country, so we haven't been there. And then PFL, and so we're not just like a guy who's done like 3 podcasts or 7 podcasts or even 20 podcasts that just goes live whenever someone wants. And so it's just you know, it just, you know, it hurts a little bit when an organization knows that, and they know the caliber of fighters that we've had on our show, and that we do really good interviews, and that we advertise it, and that, you know, and then just to not have their fighter take it seriously enough to be there. I mean, I don't know. You know, and you know what is also interesting to me, Adam? A lot of these fighters that are like older millennials like yourself, or, you know, I even feel more upset at, because I understand, I guess, if someone's 25 years old, like a Gen Z, and you know, because I think today's society is not teaching that much about how important it is to keep your word and meet your obligations. But guys that were born, you know, in the 80s and in the 70s were taught that. I know you were taught that, Adam, in the Midwest. Maybe in the Midwest where it's hammered into us more. But I don't get that someone would make a commitment for a show that is legit and then be like, ah, fuck it, I'm just not going to be around for the Skype call.
Right.
Whatever. You know. Meanwhile,
I was taught to keep my commitments.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But we're going on and on and on, making an entire show about this.
I know, right?
What's that about?
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah. Let's try him again, and then if we can't get him, let's
I mean, he's not online, so it's not going to ring anybody.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm 100% sure.
Okay. All right. So then we'll see.
You ask me that like I don't know, and I say it every time.
I say, well, now you know. Like Dana White says, if you don't know, now you know. So I didn't know.
Yeah, that's it, Colin.
I didn't know.
You should know by now. How many times have we been through this?
That was an old 70s song. You ought to know by now. Wasn't that Billy Joel or someone like that? Anyway, Elton John. Okay, you want to pick up the UFC odds for?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Now, AJ McKee losing to Pitbull. It was a close split decision. I think a lot of people felt AJ would wipe out Patricio Pitbull in the rematch. I wasn't one of them. I knew it was going to be a close fight. I think Pitbull was smart in having that fight at 145, because 45 has become hard for AJ to make. And not only that, Pitbull, after getting smoked in that last fight a year and a half ago or whatever, he was made to look silly. Brazilians fight with a lot of pride, and he just got smoked in that first fight, losing his title. And you know that's been sitting in his, gnawing at his gut for the whole time since that happened last year. And he just went for it. He was not having it with any of AJ McKee's good, tricky, slick stuff. And he was going at it. Mind you, it was an even fight the whole way, but definitely props and big respect to Patricio Pitbull for being one of the few Bellator fighters, I think, ever to reclaim their world title. And actually, it doesn't happen that much in the UFC also. So reclaiming the title you lost, maybe at a different weight, yes, but rarely at that same weight. So big respect to Patricio Pitbull Freire on that win, and respect to AJ McKee. We'll see where it goes from there. UFC, interesting fights here, and it's not a big super stacked card, but Tyson Pedro, a huge favorite over Isaac Villanueva. No money to win there. You could put Tyson Pedro as a parlay piece. I don't think there's any chance in the world that Isaac Villanueva, tough guy, but don't think any chance in the world that he beats Tyson Pedro. But you know what? I shouldn't be that sure. In fact, you know, I know Pedro, I think, is a training partner with Tai Tuivasa. and sometimes I would mix them up in my mind, and I think that's what I just did. So let me back off that. If he was fighting Tai Tuivasa, that's different. Tyson Pedro, though, it's one weight division lower. Tyson Pedro really should beat Isaac Villanueva, though, but not as excited as I thought when I thought it was his bigger crush if it was Tai Tuivasa. Anyway, still Tyson Pedro should win that fight clearly. Other fights, not enough people are familiar with the other fights. Marc-Andre Barrio against Jordan Wright, the Beverly Hills Ninja. I've got the dog in that one. I think Jordan Wright, the Beverly Hills Ninja, wins that fight, although I wouldn't bet my paycheck on it. A really interesting fight in the either bantamweight or, no, I think it's flyweight division, which is Sue Mudarji against Manel Kopp. I know our friend Francesca loves Sue Mudarji. He is a killer, electric, explosive fighter, electrifying fighter. Manel Kopp is also a killer. That is a really good fight. They've got Kopp is almost a 2-1, 70 minus 185, and then the comeback on Sue Mudarji is plus 138, 145, 155. He is the Tibetan Eagle, I believe, and going to be a tough fight there. I think Mudarji is a live dog in that fight. I got to look into it a little bit more, though. I haven't done all the research on that on a Tuesday that I end up doing on a Thursday or a Friday when I put out my official picks. But that's going to be a banger. Those guys are so quick and so powerful and accurate. It's going to be a great fight. Montana De La Rosa against Macy Barber. We've had Montana on the show, I think, a couple of times. Really nice girl. She looked great in her last fight. She's a dog here to Macy Barber. I think Montana De La Rosa wins that fight. I fade Macy Barber most of the time, and sometimes I end up sorry that I did. And this is a fight I sure wouldn't bet a lot of money on, but I think Montana De La Rosa about a 2-1 dog, and I think she's live in that fight. She's going to have to be really on point, though, with her wrestling, and Macy Barber's very slick and scrambly and squirmy on the ground, hard to hold down. Clay Guida against Claudio Puelles. You know what's interesting about that fight, Adam? Clay Guida is 40 years old now, and Puelles is substantially younger, a lot more experience to the Carpenter. But I think Puelles is going to be about 4 or 5 inches taller, so much younger. I really think he can beat Clay Guida. It's interesting because Clay Guida barely lost a split decision to our friend Mark Madsen that we've interviewed, but that was before Madsen went over to Fight Ready and was able to train full time. And Madsen looked a lot better than he had ever looked in that fight against Vince Pichel. So I still think that Clay is a tough guy. I love supporting these guys that are in their high 30s and 40s. The lighter weight you are, though, the harder it is going to be for me to support you. I think Clay's got a good shot here, but I think Claudio Puelles should be a little bit more of a favorite, but just because the experience and the grittiness of the Carpenter Guida, they've got it about even or maybe slight favorite. No, they got, Guida a slight favorite. So I think Puelles is live. I think this may be...
Puelles is live, but at the end of the day, Clay came out in his last fight and really showed up, and I think he's going to do that here again.
I don't. I think this is a passing of the torch here, the beginning of passing of the
I could see that too.
Yeah, but it's a good fight. It's going to be a good fight. I wouldn't mind. I would probably be happy if Clay wins, although I'm leaning Puelles. It's going to be a good, it's going to be a interesting fight, though, that's for sure. Groovy Lando Venata against Charles Air Jourdain. That's an interesting one, Adam. Venata is getting to be a little bit older. I think he's in his mid-30s. And he's been around the UFC for a decade. Jourdain, much younger. Jourdain sometimes looks great, sometimes doesn't. But I do think he will be better than Lando Venata. He's a slight favorite. Again, I think the age and the youth is going to be served here. Although, man, Venata, if the fight stays on his feet the whole time, Venata is so unorthodox and slick and tricky. That you don't know what he's going to do. And if Jourdain shows up not being the A side Charles Jourdain, which we've seen sometimes, and if he shows up being the B side Charles Jourdain, then he could be lit up by one of those spinning back fists of the man they call Groovy Lando Venata. Main event is very interesting. I believe this is at 115 pounds. Is there any way you could check to see, Adam? Probably not. They don't tend to show the weight class because they don't want to be wrong. But this is, so Amanda Lemos, you know what? It is. It's got to be. It's almost positively it's a 115 fight. So here is what's so really weird about that fight. And it's the former champion Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade was at 135 for the first 4 years of her career because there was no 125 flyweight division. She killed herself to go down, dropping 2 weight classes to fight at 115. And she did have the title briefly at 115. Then, shortly after they created 125 flyweight, she was like, I'm home, finally. Because at 135, I was way undersized. I was 4 inches shorter than all the other fighters. At 115, I'm killing myself to make it. Here's my home at 125. So she won a couple fights, maybe just 1 or 2, got absolutely handled by the champ Bullet and Valentina Shevchenko. No shame in that. But I think she had one other fight after that at 25. And now I think she's coming all the way back down to 115. And man, what a story to have started fighting at 35, dropped down to 15, gone back up to 25, and then back down to 15 is a weird roller coaster ride of a fight. But how old is Jessica Andrade? If you can take a look, Dr. Adamora, she's got to be 32, 33. 30. So she's still relatively young. Amanda Lemos is 34, but a lot less miles on her. 11-1. She has been beating the brakes off of girls in the UFC. Her first fight was against Leslie Smith. What the hell? So maybe this is at 25. No. So yeah, her first fight was at 130. You know what? No, Leslie Smith, I think, had come down to 25. But her first fight that they threw her against to the wolves against Leslie Smith, and then she has killed it since then. Amanda Lemos is just beating girls like they stole her lunch money. You know what I mean? If you look back, I think on Lemos, you're looking back at the opponent here, Doc. I think every fight she's had since losing her UFC debut has been a stoppage. Let's take a look. She stopped Miranda Granger. Continue upward. Don't click. Yeah, don't click. Then she stopped. No, she won the decision with Inoue, who was very tough. She then stopped Lavinia Souza, stopped Montserrat Ruiz, and did have a really tough fight, a struggle against Angela Hill, and Angie was on in that fight. I think I felt Angie won that fight. I'm starting to be this guy that I never really liked before, always feeling that the person that loses the split decision should have won. I'm not doing it on purpose, and it's not every fight, but just some of these fights are so close, and maybe it's because I felt that Angela Hill really deserved that. Well, she deserved it, but she needed that win. That would have given her a lot of, momentum, and I just remember feeling, damn, I thought she just won it. But anyway, this is a tough fight. Both women are beasts. How tall is Lemos, Doc? She's got to be 5'5", 5'6", 5'4", right? And the other girl, I think, is 5'2" or 3. Jessica Andrade. Andrade is 5'2", so 2-inch height advantage. That's not huge. Andrade has fought taller girls all the time. The younger girl is Andrade with way more experience, but she's got a lot more miles on her. Sometimes I notice with Andrade that she can tend to get befuddled in fights if other girls are really kind of taking it to her. But at 115, she is just so strong. This is a crazy fight, and it's Brazilian against Brazilian, unless I'm wrong. Can you double check that, Doc? Let's see the opponent. which is Lemos. I'm 99% sure she's Brazilian. Yep, Brazilian versus Brazilian. So back to the best fight odds, and they are going to have Andrade as a slight favorite, don't they? Yes, they do. Man, I don't know, Doc. Any feelings? What's your feeling based on my rundown and what you know there about these two?
I think Lemos is going to run through her, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with why. And it's the less mileage on her, and she has been against and faced
good competition lately.
Good competition
she's smashing them. Yeah, I mean the other girl, Andrade has technically faced a higher level.
I would agree with that.
But then she's lost to a lot of them.
Yep.
So it's kind of but then it does present that question. You've been in against world champions. You've been in against the absolute best girls, but half the time you lose to them. Against another girl who's been in against legit tough girls, but not that same level, but you're beating the brakes off of them.
Right.
So I think that's why the odds are so close. We just don't know. You know what might be smart maybe is to live bet this fight, because it's going to go off. It's probably going to stay kind of where it is, although maybe some late money may come in on Lemos. It's going to be fairly close. And then I think what you could do is if you see one fighter kind of getting the advantage at the start, and then the odds. I mean, I'll tell you, for anyone watching, I never advocate gambling. If you can't afford it, or if you can't afford to lose $1, don't bet, please. I used to have a jackass friend of mine who years ago I'd be like, well, I got my half of my rent is $900. All I got is $600. And he'd go, dude, go bet that $600 on like some sort of a favorite in a fight or something, and then you double your money when you win. And I'm like, yeah, but how about when I lose? And he'd say, well, you didn't have enough for rent anyway. And I'm like, dude, that's don't do that. Just don't do that. It's just stupid. Anyway, so don't bet at all if you don't have any money to lose. If you do and you're already betting, then I love the idea. I love the live betting on MMA, because you see sometimes a fighter get up to be like plus 250, plus 300, plus 400 when they were the favorite to start, or when it was even money on the start, just because they lost the first round. And a fair amount of times they come back and win. So you can look for a value bet on whichever of the girls is losing, and then maybe take that. If I had to say which way I'm leaning, I just, something about Lemos that kind of annoys me a little bit, Adam. I don't know what it is. All respect to her. Maybe the fact that she just keeps beating the brakes off all these girls, and I was like fading her for like 3 fights, and she just made me look silly each time. So I don't know. At some point I got to stop fading her, but she's older though here at this lightweight class at 34. The woman they call Amandinha, a little.
Yeah, and the women, and on the women's side of things, I don't think the age matters nearly as much. It hasn't been as evolved. The UFC in general with men used to be that way, where age really wasn't the crux.
That's a good.
It really wasn't.
That's a good point. But in this lighter weight class, but yeah, I mean, here's what I
You're
think.
also in an age range that's similar enough for both of them.
30 to 34. Yeah. I mean, here's the interesting
testosterone
thing.
I think has a lot more to play.
Yeah, I think you're right in the levels.
With men at the age of 35, and we've got accidents about happening out our studio here, but
sounds like it crazy. But
I think the testosterone drop that men see around 35 really affects things.
Yeah,
and women, the estrogen levels are actually, well, if anything, they heighten right around 30 to 35.
That's right.
And they stay there.
That's
so
right.
I think it affects their fighting less negatively.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can you look at Amanda Lemos's one loss and see how long ago it was and how she lost?
I mean, it was against Leslie Smith.
That's right.
And
she got
5 years ago.
Okay, Leslie Smith is a way bigger girl and definitely a way taller girl than both Amanda Lemos and Jessica Andrade. How many knockouts does Lemos have? She has a lot, doesn't she? She's got mostly knockouts and submissions. Mostly knockouts. Wow. Look at that. She's got so out of her wins, There's 7 KOs and 2 submissions. So 9 stoppages out of 11 wins. She's a finisher. Let's look at the same thing on the woman they called the pile driver, Bata Azteca, which is Jessica Andrade. Out of 22 wins, she's got 9. Is that 9?
Yeah, 9
knockouts and 7 submissions. She's a finisher as well.
And 6 decisions.
Right.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, though, I'm also looking at her losses, and where majority of those come from is from knockouts. So give it to Lemos in a run through on this one. That's what I'm looking at.
You just think she's going to catch the shorter girl who's got more miles on her. And I mean, I'll tell you what. Here's the thing. Lemos is jumping up in class. Andrade has been in there. Look at some of the girls Andrade has been in there with.
Oh, I know.
I mean, Valentina, look at this. Valentina Shevchenko, Cynthia Calvillo, Caitlin Chukagian, Rose Namajunas, Wei Li Zhang, Rose Namajunas again, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, Tisha Torres, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Claudia Gadelha, Angela Hill. Are you kidding me? Raquel Pennington? I mean, basically, Jessica Andrade is, I don't think, going to have one bit of fear facing jumping into the cage on Saturday night against this girl, because compared
no fear, but that's also, you can easily come up with an underestimation scenario here, and I think that's really going to happen. And if I look at, you know, like, I mean, I guess Angela Hill's a hard one to really gauge that one.
Yeah.
But you know, Angela Hill, Lavinia Souza, Mizuki Inwa.
They're good, but they're not like the other names I just read off. Well, Angela, well, not really. They're not quite the other names I just read off.
No.
But they're good. They're not unknowns. They're not tomato cans. But here's the point that I wanted to ask you. Whereas Andrade is not going to walk in one bit intimidated by Lemos, I don't know if the same thing can be said. If I was Lemos, I'd be like, fuck, I'm stepping up in class here. I'd be like, I am stepping up seriously in class.
No, I don't know about that.
Technically she is. You may not think that, but you don't think she's going to be tripping on that?
No, I don't think she's going to be thinking that.
Even though it is true. It is true, though, but yeah. I mean,
that's not something that you think of, and I mean,
you would hope not, I guess. I mean, once in a while.
Not with this many fights under your belt. It's not like she's coming in fresh off the
Ultimate Fighter.
Ultimate Fighter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's in there now, just in it to win it, and that's all she cares about. She probably thinks she's the best no matter what. She is 11-1.
Yeah.
So. You know, she's got a winner's mentality, and a winner does not think about those kinds of things.
No, with both women being finishers that can literally rare in the women's fighting world. With these two women can go out there and finish you. With that being the case, do you think they're both going to come out as aggressive as normal, even though they know in this case their opponent can finish them if they make one mistake, or do you think they're going to be a little bit more cautious? I think since it's the main event, they're going to do a feeling out round almost for sure. And then, see, what I would hate is if they're cautious the whole fight, that would suck. But I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Jessica Andrade...
No, I don't think it's going to happen that way
Yeah,
either.
I don't think Andrade knows. I don't think either girl knows what second or third gear is. For the most part, they're in first gear or maybe barely second gear and then jumping right back up to first gear. Not first. Mostly they're in high gear. They're in fourth gear the whole time, and if they back off, then they're backing off down to third gear, but they're never going to be in first or second gear. It's going to be amazing. And man, so you got Lemos. I don't know. Like I said, I mean, eventually I'm going to learn to stop fading Lemos, but you know, but I don't know. I it's going to be fun and exciting. I kind of the fact that Andrade is able to do this to her body and come back down to this insane low weight, but then that might hurt her. I don't know, man. You know what? I don't like, you know what? Live bet. What I would do is I think whoever is getting an advantage in the first round maybe take, because in MMA betting, the only way you make money is if you find a dog that has some value. So you're risking a low amount of money, and because of the fact that you're getting the odds in your favor on an underdog, you can make money. I'm not saying you can always find a dog that wins, but that's kind of the way I would do it. Otherwise, I would say no bet on this, but It's close. Do you kind of feel the same way, or are you feeling strongly, Lemos?
I mean, I just think Lemos is going to come out and just take this.
Yeah.
Straight up. I think it's going to be 1-2 round.
First or second round.
I really do. That's how I feel about it.
So you would go under 2.5 rounds for sure, but you might even say under 1.5, because 1.5 rounds means it completes the first round and goes halfway. I
wouldn't bet on under 1.5, but I could see it happening.
Right, and you would definitely bet probably under 2.5, which means it goes halfway through the third round.
I mean,
or less.
Yeah, or less.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Well, Colin, let's enough for that card. Somebody was asking us about if we like Mike Jackson, just because he's plus 700.
Who's he going against?
Dean Barry.
Dean Barry. Which is this?
So it's Mike the Truth Jackson going against Dean Barry.
Oh, then that's this Saturday. It is.
Yep.
You want to do that real quick, Adam? See if we can get familiar with these guys and give them our thoughts.
Well, you got Mike Jackson. He's got one no contest against Phil Brooks. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, that Phil Brooks is CM Punk.
Yep.
And then his other fight, he lost to Mickey. This is a weird fight. And what is he? 40 years old?
Yeah, he's 37.
37. So he's got an 0-1 record with one no contest, and he's 37. Dean Barry is the sniper out of Ireland with a 4-1 record. How old is he? 29 or is
29?
And he's coming off these wins over in Titan and UAE Warriors. I mean, I don't.
And Bama and Shamrock FC. He's got enough experience.
Yeah, but these are smaller. But you know what? They're not that small. Yeah, it would seem that this is Dean Barry all day. I remember Mike Jackson definitely frustrated CM Punk, but CM Punk was a guy who kind of was a guy in jiu-jitsu who just started to dabble in MMA in his late 30s, and he gave it a hell of a shot. All respect to him, but you know what? This is just a bizarre fight. This is a weird fight. I don't think anyone should. My advice is don't bet any money on this. But
I'm not.
But because you don't want to lay the chalk on Barry. What are the odds? Do they even have this fight on the board?
Yeah, they do. It's like plus 700 for. Let's go back up.
Should be like minus 600 Barry or something.
Yeah, minus 1100.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, I certainly for sure don't recommend betting Barry with minus 1,000, where you're betting $1,000 to win 100. I certainly or $100 to win $10. What's the point? The risk was insane. And then Mike Jackson, I don't know.
It's not a bad one if you're willing to lose $100 randomly
or whatever.
On Mike Jackson.
If you can honestly say, I'm going to bet this $20 on Mike Jackson, or $100 or $40 or $30, and it's not going to hurt me if I lose, then do that. See, this is the tough thing. Everyone always says, wow, I'm so broke that I got to bet $10, and even if I win, it doesn't do anything for me. I wish I could bet, like $100. And then the guy who's making thousands of dollars that is smart, all he's betting is 100, but it doesn't make life exciting. Or the guy who's got $1 million is just betting $1,000 on fights. And a lot of people wonder why, because how does that make it exciting? It doesn't, but it's people being really practical with their money. Now, the people that have no money that are betting half of a paycheck, it's a disaster. The people that have a little bit of a savings that are betting half of their savings on sports, it's stupid. It's insane. And the people that have a lot of money that are betting hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars on a sport, again, insane. The best case scenario, I guess, is the last one. Whereas if you literally have 10, 20, 30, 40 million dollars and you want to three times a year bet $1 million or $500,000, it really is crazy. You could give it to a charity and do so much better. But if you're betting less than 1/10 of your net worth, then you're okay. But I know it doesn't make it exciting or fun. I'm sorry to lecture you. You guys know that, but for anyone younger that's watching. So in all honesty, I would say bet less than 1/10 of the money you have in your savings account, or I'd say bet a tenth or less of your paycheck on Mike Jackson here, because it won't hurt you that badly if you lose, and you probably will lose.
You probably will.
But, you know,
although I might be coming across some extra cash where I might throw down 200 just to see if Mike Jackson makes me 1,400.
Yeah, I mean, you could, and I know you, Adam, you're not a stupid guy, and I know that if you're going to bet 200, it's not going to interfere with you paying your bills. And
That's it. I might be in a position. I might be. I don't know.
Right. And so, but if you're not in that position,
might be in a position to throw 2,000 at a dartboard too. I don't know. I'm not going to tell everybody my finances right now. I might,
for sure.
Might not be able to. I'm just
exactly. I mean, the bottom line is, it doesn't seem like Mike Jackson. It just seems like this fighting is an afterthought for him. Now, okay, I don't know. He looked like he had some skills though against CM Punk, but CM Punk is not a good MMA fighter. All respect to him.
All respect. Yeah. So we've only got a few minutes left here. Colin, about 5 minutes.
Okay, let's do our guy. Go back up. Bellator. Go back up to Bellator.
Oh, it's Rafael Stotts.
Rafael Stotts. He is a 2-1 favorite. I'm telling you, Juan Archuleta is a tough, gritty wrestler, but Rafael is the modern day MMA fighter. This guy is high-level wrestling. This guy is a high-level striker. This guy knows his submissions. He's such a cool, chill guy. I just think he's going to be too good for Juan Archuleta. I just think he's too balanced. And I think that fight after this, he's going to be the mandatory to fight his teammate, Sergio Pettis. That's going to be a shame to see the teammates fight each other. But Rafael Stotts is for real.
There's actually a lot of great fights on this card.
Super Stotts. They're the Stotts, they call him. Yeah, Patchy Mix is fighting. We've interviewed him before. He's the dog against Horiguchi. I think he's got a chance in that fight, although I might not bet it.
Justine Kish against
Justine Kish
again.
That's gonna be interesting against Alimale probably wins, but Justine fights tough, former UFC fighter for several years, high level.
She's a former guest too.
Yeah, really nice girl, super nice girl, and she was a Muay Thai champion for many years. She's closing in on 40, I think, and has had injuries that's kept her out of action a lot, but she's a tough, skillful fighter. Emmanuel Sanchez in action against Yancy Medeiros, two really good veterans there. Goichi Yamauchi is in action. Lance Gibson Jr. is a tough guy out of fighting side by side with his stepmother, I think, which is Julia Budd.
That's a crush fight.
And his father, former UFC fighter Lance Gibson Sr. Yeah, it probably is. Lance Gibson Jr. should crush. Should crush Nathan
Nanwan Dong.
All right, and then so yeah, you want to go to that other?
Well, of course, we've also got Arlene Blanco against Cyborg.
That's wow.
I think the odds are way too
overlay. You think Blanco's got a little bit better chance?
Oh yeah, a little better chance. Not
a lot better, but I mean, look at the difference in the sports books, though. A couple of them have it minus 1,000, and then one of them has it minus 1,400, and then the other two have it minus 600 or 800. So that's really a big disparity on that. I guess you can technically take. Well, there's no point taking both sides if someone's going to lose, but you could go for the sports book where you're getting minus. No, none of them are minus 600. You can go to the sports book where you're getting minus 850 or 825 and bet Cyborg, and then go to the other one where you're getting plus 800 or whatever.
If it happens, then I doubt it will.
Yeah, I doubt it will. It doesn't make much sense. Going to the next,
there's going to be a chance to really.
Going to the next UFC, which is going to be 2 weeks from Saturday. Marlon Vera, Rob Font.
Ooh, yeah.
Good fight. That's going to be an exciting.
Stoked for that one.
Yeah, that's going to be a really, really good fight. Chito Vera is a great guy. We've had him on the show before. Very, very tough guy, and man, against Rob Font. Yikes, that's going to be a tough fight. Both and the slight.
Who do you have on that one?
Oh man, both guys are so good. Rob Font looked a little bit befuddled in his loss to Who the hell did?
I'm still on the Font train.
Yeah, Font is tough. You know what? It was against Font's loss. I think was against Jose Aldo. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Aldo just looked way bigger than him in that fight. How long ago was that fight with Aldo?
It was fairly recent.
It was 6 months ago.
Yeah, December.
5 months ago. Yeah. And he did not look his best there, but he was on a killing streak. How old is Rob? Like 32 or 3?
He's 34.
Okay, 19-5 record. Marlon is younger. I know Marlon's barely 30. If he had 29, yeah. I think Marlon might have the youth on his side here. It's a really good fight, though. They're both these guys are taking.
I don't know. I'm on the Font train still. I think he's still. I mean, both these guys have been fighting beasts.
Yeah,
equal levels. I think he's shown up more. He did not show up against Jose.
No, but otherwise he's maybe had more experience against better guys, possibly. You could say. So there is a little bit of a class. You could say Chito is jumping up a little bit in class. It's going to be interesting. It's definitely tough, and it's going to be a really good fight. I think I'm leaning Chito, but you never know.
I'm going Rob Font on that one.
Yeah, you could be right. Then you got Gerald Meerschaert going against Krzysztof Jotko. Andrei Arlovsky back in action. He's got to be like 44, 45 years old now, and he's a favorite against Jake Collier. I do understand that. Figueiredo, that's Figueiredo's the champion's brother. So the champion is Davidson Figueiredo, his brother here. Francisco Figueiredo, a slight dog against Daniel De Silva. Then you got Jessica Penne against
Hey, guess what time it is?
Oh, there we go. We're ready for our next guest.
Let's give our next guest a call.
Let's make it happen. So, of course, we got no response from...
no, that's a bummer.
From the... I better not get a response that says, don't text me. Because I'm going to say, don't have your guest, your client not show up.
Skype dance.
Skype dance, baby.
I think somebody in our comments said you were hot earlier.
Oh, man. That would be amazing. I don't think I've got a great comment like that. More like I'm a guy with a jacked up neck and back and who's old. But if I'm hot, damn, man, I'll take that. Thank you.
Might have been talking about Ton.
That probably is who it was. Thank you, though, for setting me up for failure on that, Dr. Anyway, this is crazy, though, but our man doesn't really use Skype that often, but let's remind him, because this will not be a no-show, I guarantee you. What?
No, it won't be a no-show.
Hey, brother, we're trying to Skype call you now, and you didn't pick up. If you want to Skype call us back, that would be great.
Yeah, I think he's trying to figure it out right now.
Yep. Let me see.
Because it's showing he's online now.
Otherwise, we'll try you back in a couple minutes. Yeah, no, he's definitely ready to come on and excited.
Hit up our social media at MMA Power Hour. Also, if you are not on the Hannibal TV, make sure to head on over to the Hannibal TV on YouTube and Facebook. Make sure to subscribe, follow, like, comment, share. We appreciate all that. We really do. Also, hit up lithtoken.io. It is the cryptocurrency of the future, especially when it comes to all things sustainability and ethics related. A lot of people are looking for that in the crypto space right now, and Lith Token is at the forefront of all technology when it comes to blockchain and sustainability.
Absolutely. Lithium based and sustainability.
It's not lithium based, but
it's the concept.
Colin always brings that up. We do have a partner in the lithium industry, but it is not lithium based.
No, it's not lithium based, but
will not make that claim.
No.
That's commodity then.
Yeah, it's commodity based, but lithium is in your battery. So if you have lithium batteries, then you're on the right track. And if you're prescribed lithium, please take it. Don't not take your medicine seriously.
Hey, why not? Lith Token's great for medicine in general.
Yes, it is. It's the best medicine. Well, that's why it's...
Check it out, lithtoken.io.
Yes, and you won't have to say IO anymore if you get into Lith Token. You'll just go to the website, IO. All right, let's make this happen, Dr. Adam Roorda.
I'm trying.
I know it. And we can pull up his file on our favorite reference base if you want.
I'm over here punching my mic.
That's it. You gotta punch it sometimes.
Speed bag the mic.
That's it, man. I'll tell you what. I'm just, let's do the Jens Pulver Skype dance. There, I saw him doing it. All respect to him. He's an Iowa boy, right?
Boom, boom, boom.
So
What's going on with this man here?
yeah, we're not able to.
He's not picking up.
Yeah, we tried you again, but it looks like you're not picking up the Skype call. Is this cursed show number 2?
Well, we've had a lot lately for some reason, Colin.
Yeah, I just, man, I'm so.
I got the camera fixed.
You did. That's the positive thing. The good thing is, at least I'm not freezing. What was the look I had the last when I was freezing? It was like this, right?
Yeah,
that was awesome. Yeah, I love that. Or another one that was more like this. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I love those. Those are awesome. But yeah, so at least we don't have that. I need every bit of help I can get at this age to look good. And if a freeze frame on the screen is having me go like this, then that's unfortunate. But the good thing is Dr. Adam Roorda fixed it.
Let's give him a couple minutes.
And then
I've actually got to go take care of some business otherwise, so
Yes.
we'll give him a couple more minutes here.
Yes, that's a deal. Well, so I will be not be a deer in the headlights because you're about to jump out. Is that it for a minute, Doc? Or so should I not engage you in some more chat, or may I?
No, you can for a little bit. I know.
Okay.
I'm saying we're about to call it a night. If he
Oh, I see what you're
doesn't show
saying.
up.
I thought you had to go to the bathroom or something. So no, at least it's not that. Yeah, no, if we can't get him on here, but man, oh man. It's funny. I was thinking about like these people that try to do stuff to go viral. You remember there was an interview. Jim Rome, the sports
I think
guy?
we have the show to go viral. All you have to do is tune in and listen to us complain when people don't show up,
Yes.
even though we've had.
Yes, I mean that's the one thing is that like Jim Rome was known for really calling out people and really like fucking with his guests. I was going to point out this thing that happened like 25 years ago with LA Rams quarterback Jim Everett. And there was a tennis player back in those days, a female tennis player, Chris Evert, and she was famous before him. And so Jim Rome started to call Jim Everett Chris.
Interesting.
And Jim Everett was not having it. He's like, yeah, no, I'm not. Don't play that. And then he said, don't call me Chris. No. And then he said, okay, Chris. And then I think Jim gave him one more chance and said, don't call me that one more time. I'm telling you. And then he said, okay, Chris. And then he fucking, I think, grabbed him and threw him off his chair, and it was a scuffle. And it's like, but that was like how Jim Rome got to be famous. He literally was like, I will fuck with you. I don't care if you're a guest on my show and you're a pro football quarterback twice my size, or you're this or that respected person.
Right.
But that's not me. I mean, that's not our show. And I also think to do that, not that it's good to do that with NFL players, but to do that with fighters would be extra shitty.
Mm-hmm.
And especially to try to, you think you're going to do that on a Skype or whatever, then that's extra chicken shit. If you're going to fuck with someone, do it in person. But
I think he's here now.
But yeah, let's see if we can get him on. But anyway, even if our guest doesn't show up, we're not throwing anyone under the bus. All respect to everyone. It's just so disappointing when we had a guest committed to be on. Shit happens though. I know no one's singling us out to fuck with us personally or anything. All right.
Yes.
Do we got him? Nate, can you hear me? Nate?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. You're just going to be able to see yourself there, but trust in the finished product. It will look great from the graphics and everything. So we got you here. Just make sure if you can, you're in the frame, and I will give you a proper introduction if you want to bring that file back up, Dr. Adam Roorda. We are happy to have on this show a man fighting out of Iowa, that pretty much the place that has the toughest guys in the world. This guy's a killer in the Midwest. People don't know that in the Midwest, people are grinding, fighting tough guys every single fight, and this guy's managed to pull out a bunch of wins. Coming up, has a title fight in the Midwest. We are talking about Mr. Nate Williams. Welcome to the show, Nate.
All right, thank you.
No problem, my friend. We're doing good, man. So you've been in the game for a little bit. I think your first fight had to be what, 2010 or 2009 or something?
No, it was like end of 2007, beginning of 2008. So I've been fighting for close to 14, 15 years.
Nice. Now, in those early days, there was really no 125-pound flyweight division anywhere, was there, or was there, or were you at 35 back in those days?
I mean, back in the day, I'd fight at 25, 35. Sometimes I'd fight at 45. I think the highest I've ever fought is 165.
Crazy.
That's just because they couldn't find anybody. They needed somebody that's like, I'll fight.
Yep, man. And I'll tell you, you are fighting. Wow, look at so much experience, man. You've had some great streaks. You fought a ton of great guys. And, it's tough because you're there grinding, and really a guy like you, I can see you fighting in the bigger leagues, but it almost seems like they're not giving enough respect to guys that grind in the Midwest. All they want to do is like sometimes bring in guys with 6 or 8 fights that are like, really young, and a lot of them end up, sucking. And so I know that you would love to be able to come in there and jump in. And it's tough though, I guess. Do you just gotta just keep winning? I think this, you've put together some great win streaks, and do you feel like at this point you win this title fight coming up on Saturday, that possibly you could be trying to push your case again to a Bellator or to a UFC or a PFL or maybe one championship? Or what is your plan on that? Or would you be just as happy to keep going for a few more years, just busting people up in the Midwest?
Man, honestly, my goal is to fight for one of the bigger promotions. I fought for Bellator. I fought for LFA. I'd like to fight for UFC. That's my goal. But I'll do whatever, honestly. Yeah, that's my top goal, is to fight for end of my career at one of the bigger promotions.
Makes sense to me. And you are out of Des Moines, Iowa, man. That's the place. That's where I think a lot of it started. I mean, wasn't you know what? I know Pat Miocic was from Bettendorf. Is that where his school used to be, or was his school over in Des Moines? Sometimes I get confused.
No, it was in Bettendorf. Davenport, Bettendorf area. They're like right next to each other.
That's right. And then he ended up fighting Michael Nunn, the champion from Davenport, in a boxing match. I'll tell you a funny Michael Nunn story. I had an uncle of mine who was hanging out with a buddy of his in the mid 80s, and one of his buddies had a Golden Gloves boxing shirt that he just found at like a thrift shop, right? And so they were walking around, and a guy came over to them and said, "Hey man, you guys box?" And then my uncle's buddy said, "Yeah, I jumped into some Golden Gloves for a few times, this and that." And then he said, "Cool." And then they said, "How about you, man?" And he said, "I'm IBF middleweight boxing champion, Michael Nunn." And they were like, "What?" And it was Michael Nunn. And they were like, "Oh man," he goes, "In all honesty, bro, I got this shirt from a thrift shop," But they were big boxing fans, and he actually hung out with them because he was about their age, and they chilled. And then I think he said, "If you guys are ever in a venue, man," like he goes, "hit me up." I think he gave his phone number because there was no emails or anything then. And he said, just like, hit me up and I'll see if I can. And actually, I think he got them into a couple of his fights for free over the next year or so. So he was a really cool dude up in Iowa. A lot of good guys there. But that was an interesting fight, man, that him and Pat had the courage to jump in there, man, in their late 50s. What do you think about that? You got Mike Tyson, Roy Jones. I mean, obviously, Evander Holyfield shouldn't have jumped in there in retrospect in his late 50s, but combat sports, we always thought, was never going to be a place that we would ever see a senior league. And now we kind of are. Like, a lot of guys are willing to do it. And could you ever see yourself do that if, like, 20 years from now they said, "All right, Nate, we gotta get you to jump back in here, man. We got some money." I mean, it seems like it's the guy's got to have like balls of steel in his mid-late 50s to do that. Or what's your thought on that?
I honestly, I don't know. Just depending on how my body feels. I'd like to keep on competing. Even after I'm done fighting, I'd like to compete in jiu-jitsu, combat jiu-jitsu. I mean, but if the price is right, I mean,
comes down to the money. Yeah, it makes sense. You got to be paid. So speaking of which, in the fights where you're going up against these tough guys, because there's no easy fights. When you're over there in the Midwest, I'm originally from Michigan. We got good wrestlers and good, gritty, tough guys out of the Detroit area, Ann Arbor area, Lansing area. You guys got tough guys all over Iowa. Are these fights that you're jumping into, do you ever get a full 8-week or 10-week training camp for these? Or are a lot of these fights like 2-3 week, 1 month training camps?
No, actually, this fight was an 8-week training camp. I try to give myself at least 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks for training camp. But I'm always in shape. I'm always in the gym. I always tell my guys, you need to stay ready.
Nice.
Absolutely. Stay ready. So, and I always pride myself on staying in shape, being always ready to take fights. I mean, I took an LFA fight on 2 weeks' notice. So, crazy. I mean, it is what it is.
Absolutely. Big respect to you on that. Do you have a pass with some of these kind of big names from Iowa, guys like Jeremy Stevens or guys like Josh Neer and a bunch of these guys? Like, there must be some guys that you kind of knew back in the day when you got in, and do you have any good stories of training with some of these Iowa guys that kind of still have some big names?
When I first started, I used to train with Josh Neer at Des Moines MMA. I mean, at that time, we had Josh, we had Jeremy. LC Davis would come down every once in a while. Who else?
How about Spencer Fisher, the King? Remember him?
Yep. He came down a couple times. John Halverson, he was in the UFC a couple times. Who else?
Jens Pulver, maybe?
I can't remember if he's came through, but I know back in the day, though. I mean, we had a squad because we were always they were always bringing in guys, and we were sending guys over to Miocic, and they were sending guys to us because of Josh and Jeremy and stuff.
Nice. And what was your training school called? Was it with the guys that they were going back and forth from Miocic?
Oh, it was just Des Moines MMA.
Des Moines MMA, excellent. Yeah, my producer Adam is a big MMA guy. He trained wrestling and wrestled in, I think, junior high school back in Iowa, and was a big fan. He said you guys used to have the big battles over in Toad Holler. Remember? Were you at any of those?
No, I wasn't. I was in the next generation after that. I was at the DMX fight night, so it was always on Wednesday nights. And then it was Vucare, and then they changed it to DMX fight nights.
Definitely. What's that?
You go fight every Wednesday. It was bar fights. You go fight every Wednesday.
Nice. Was it at 7 Flags?
No, it was at a bar.
Nice, crazy. And then they had the Extreme Challenge. That actually is still going, I think, isn't it? Did you ever fight in one of those?
Yep, I actually have the Extreme Challenge 25 and 35 title.
Nice. Very, very cool. Well, tell us about this upcoming title fight. The organization looks like it is, well, I know that it's going to be in Wisconsin at the Onalaska Civic Center in Onalaska, Wisconsin. What organization is that? 3RT. Is that the organization?
Yeah, 3 River Throwdown.
What's it called? 3 Round Throwdown?
3 River Throwdown.
3 River Throwdown. Cool. And your opponent, tell us what you know about him and what do you think he brings to this fight?
He's a legit wrestler. I mean, he's a good fighter all around. Good striker, good wrestling, good jiu-jitsu, good cardio. He's fought Bellator. He's fought LFA. I believe he's won them both, I believe. He has a decent amount of fights, not as many as I do. But, I mean, college wrestler, good. I mean, it's going to be a fun match. I always seen myself fighting him. I just didn't think it was going to be this later in my career. But we're both older. He's, I think, a couple years older than me. So I think it's gonna be a good fight. It's gonna be a hell of a fight, fast-paced fight.
And is it going to be 5 rounds?
Yeah.
Nice. How many fights have you been in that were scheduled for 5, and how many fights have you been in that went all 5?
Well, I have 16 pro titles.
Awesome.
I don't even know. I've had a bunch of fights that went all 5. I have fights I've ended in the first, in the third. I've ended fights before the all 5 rounds.
Nice. Now, when you have all that 5-round experience, do you look at your opponent's record and see if they have it? And if they don't, does that give you any kind of an edge? And how does that apply to this opponent of yours?
No, I feel like if you're fighting for a title, you should be ready for all 5 rounds. Doesn't matter if you fought for a title or not. Especially if you're a professional, you should be ready to go 3 rounds, 5 rounds, easy. He's fought for titles before as a professional, so I'm assuming he's ready to go 5. But I'm not really thinking about worrying about him or what he's gonna do. I'm just worried about what I'm gonna do and focus on myself.
Makes sense. How different is the training when you know you've got a 5-rounder coming instead of a 3?
Nothing, because we all train the same way. Train the same way every day. I make my guys train just as much as I do and as hard as I do, because I know I'm a professional. So I make the guys go 5-6 minutes, 5-10 rounds.
Very cool. And so it sounds like you're coaching or kind of running things a little bit at the gym where you're at now, or is it your own gym or what?
Yeah, I have my own gym. It's Real Warrior Academy. I'm one of the main coaches. I have his name is Milan. He's my grappling, jiu-jitsu, wrestling coach. I have Steve Muniz. He does a lot of my striking. He's sick right now, so he's trying to get healthy. But we all chip in and do what we can. But I'm one of the main coaches. So I mean, it's fun because it also makes me have to break down techniques and break it down myself and apply it to my training.
Absolutely. I firmly believe in the fact that you learn when you teach. We had James Krause on from Glory MMA. You know, I'm sure you heard of him over in Missouri, right? And yeah, he's just mentioned that it just helped him so much, you know, being coaching and being there in people's corners. And yeah, you know him over the Midwest over there in Missouri, of course, right?
Yeah, I was actually just up there about 4.5 weeks ago. I was up there for about a week. Loved it. So I'm gonna be definitely going back up there.
Very cool. Now, if people wanted to join your gym, it sounds like in Iowa, man, you got just some great people. I mean, you've just earned so much respect with 32 wins in your career. You've had 53 fights. You fought all the toughest guys in the Midwest. I would recommend if people are in Iowa and they want to jump in a place where a guy really knows what he's talking about, the man they call Teddy Bear here, Nate Williams, would be that. Let's shout out a little bit of love for the team and for your gym. Let us know the name of it, and if you want to let people know where to find you online, or even the address of the team, or even the phone number, whatever you want for the gym, so that we can maybe let people know how they could get over there.
So if you want to find us on Facebook, you just look up Real Warrior Academy, or you can get a hold of me on Facebook, Nate Teddy Bear Williams or Nate Williams. The address is 2828 Hubble Avenue, Des Moines, Iowa, 50317. We've been up going on for about 2 years now. We're a smaller gym, but that's the way I like it, just because we have a smaller group of guys that we just vibe. We're more like a family. I'm a wrestling coach. I've always been a wrestler, so I've always wanted that family vibe aspect of a family, and I have that in my gym. And all my guys, I couldn't ask for a better group of guys.
Excellent. Very, very cool. Well, we'll keep you for a few more minutes, about 5 more minutes, go over some things, but I wanted to shout that out. And I know you're in training and you are fighting this coming Saturday, man. I really appreciate you coming here with only a few days left. And the weight cut, 125, you fought at all kinds of different weight classes. 25 is about the lowest weight class I think you'll find, so there's nowhere for you to go lower than that. Is it still comfortable or is it pretty tough? I would imagine as years go by, you're not eating too much tasty stuff coming to make flyweight, huh?
I'm actually, my weight's not too bad. I can make 25 pretty quick, and easy if I need to. But 25 is my main weight.
Very cool.
So
cool. Let me ask my producer, Dr. Adam Wright. Roorda, can you scroll up a little bit so I can see a little bit more info below that 3RT? Perfect. Stop. Perfect. Okay. And so your opponent, Lloyd McKinney, absolutely a lot of experience there too. That's going to be great. Other than watching that in person in Wisconsin, is that going to stream anywhere? And if so, where can people watch your fight and that great fight card coming up this Saturday?
I don't think it's going to be streamed. It will be on YouTube a couple days afterwards. But if people want to find me on Facebook, I'm going to have people there, and I'm pretty sure they're going to go live on Facebook.
Very cool. And if someone could get to Wisconsin or does live around there, can they get tickets from you directly? Or if not, how would they get tickets?
NitroTickets.com. Look up Three River Throwdown. For April 23rd, and then if you scroll down to my name, click my name, referred by Nate Williams, and there you go.
Awesome. In the last couple minutes we have you, Nate, I'll keep you like maybe 2 more minutes. Give me your thoughts as a guy who's grinded as much as you have and so much experience that you have. Who are some of the fighters that you think are the best of the best out there that are right now fighting in the UFC or Bellator? If you had to shout someone out that people should watch other than you, who would you shout out? Because right now everyone's walking around saying, oh man, I got these 8 guys I love and these other 8 guys are amazing. I don't know who's the best. I don't know who isn't. I don't know who's going to be the world champion. Can you shout out some of the guys that you think are the best, even if they're champions now, or even some guys that you think maybe could be coming close to getting like a UFC title or a Bellator title or something?
Honestly, I think one of my favorite fighters is AJ McKee. He just fought a rematch with
Pitbull. Yep.
I believe he won that fight. That's just my opinion. But I think in the UFC, actually, it's a hometown guy, Luis Saldana. I went to high school with him, wrestled with him in high school. Good kid, loved the kid to death. And he just came out of nowhere. And he's doing pretty good in the UFC. And then Rick Glenn, he's an up and coming as well. He's been fighting the UFC for a while as well.
Yeah, he had I think he drew with Grant Dawson, KG Dawson, out of James. That was amazing because people thought that Dawson was just going to wipe out Rick Glenn. I think the odds makers had it 5 or 6 to 1, but Glenn really showed up. He's a rugged, tough Iowa dude there. Absolutely. Jeremy Stevens jumping into the PFL in a few days. They got him a slight favorite against Clay Collard. Do you think Jeremy can do it? And if so, how?
Man, Jeremy has that knockout power. He has that one-punch power. He can knock anybody out. So, I mean, if he touches you with those hands, he can go night-night.
Yep. I know you probably want him to win. You don't have any bad blood with Jeremy Williams, right? Jeremy Stevens, right?
No, I like Jeremy. I mean, I've trained with him before. I love the dude. I mean, he's from the 515, so I support anybody that makes it to the bigger shows. I support. We have beef or not. I mean, you're putting out for the city, so it is what it is.
Absolutely. Don't they call it like the Tri-Cities there or something? No,
that's up in like the Cedar Rapids, Davenport area.
Okay, that's the one where Miocic probably is. Yeah, Pat's great. We had Pat on the show a couple weeks ago too. Awesome guy. Well, Nate Williams, man, I really think you're gonna win this title fight, man. I'm gonna be cheering for you. We stayed in touch for a while, man. I'd love to see you in the bigger shows. If I had any personal big contacts that I could talk anyone up, I would, man. Unfortunately, I don't on that. But just, man, keep winning and then keep reaching out. I think with the lighter weights, man, one championship might be something that could be open to you, that could pay you some good money to get over there to Singapore. I don't know that you want to do that, but keep your mind open, keep grinding, man. I love the fact that you're running the gym and you're killing it in Iowa, man. Big respect for you. You're a guy that fights the toughest guys in the Midwest every month, and you do a lot of winning, and you're a tough guy. Big respect, man. I want to thank you so much for jumping on here and talking to us on the MMA Power Hour. And we'll stay in touch, man. And you know, big respect to you, man. Thank you so much for jumping on.
All right, thank you so much. It was an honor.
Thank you, brother. Have a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Everyone, that is Nate Teddy Bear Williams. Thank you so much, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are...
Yeah, we're ready to wrap her up. Thank you for another amazing episode, everybody out there touching base and asking questions and commenting here on different platforms. You're all our favorite people. Likes, comments, shares at MMA Power Hour and the Hannibal TV. Check us all out, lifttoken.io and crosstrainmmafighter.com.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Dr. Adam Roorda, you're the best. Great working with you, running the boards here. And are you tapping out?
Yeah, I'm hungry, dude. I gotta eat.
Yeah, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Spread the love in a positive way. Be that guy, be that girl. It'll come back to you a million times over. Take good care of your pets and animals. They deserve it. Your dog, walk him and her whenever she or he needs it. Keep your cat's litter box clean. Make sure they have fresh water and tasty food and medical care. They need it. And the love you get will be unconditional. Come back to you a million times. Big love from me, Colin Crandall. And for tonight, I am tapping out.